Hey guys, Taro here, and as you can see here, COH2 is free this weekend, and DLC including commanders is 75% off, so a lot of people want to know what commander should I buy, so I figured I'd whip up a quick guide on what I recommend. So let's get straight into it. They're unlikely to be this cheap ever again, honestly. I think the biggest discount I've ever seen on commanders before this is 50% off. So get while the getting's good. I'm going to go through faction by faction. So we're going to go left to right on the faction selection through here. Go through commander by commander. I'm also going to include, like in the video description, my essential buys. So like a couple of the ones that I think are the absolute best that you have to buy. For those of you who don't want to watch this whole video. So getting started. Advanced Warfare. This is like a medium commander. Radio Intercept's good. T-3485 is good. Conscript PPSHs are good. Conscript Repairs medium, IL-2 strafe is garbage. I feel like this is more of like a 1v1 commander as well. So yeah, medium. If you play 1v1s, you might want to consider it. Anti-infantry tactics. This has potential. Like the KV8 is getting buffed in the upcoming patch. So definitely worth thinking about anti-infantry tactics. But like it's probably like a low on the list right now. Armoured Assault. This is something you have to buy. Like 1v1 all the way to 4v4. This commander is used all the time. Radio Intercept's great. T-3485 is great. We've already covered that. Vehicle crew repairs, just like really, really good. IL-2 strafes, like excellent, always used. And the IS-2 is very good as well. So this is a must buy. Conscript support tactics with a KV1, which is like pretty reasonable. PPSHs, which are good. Conscript repair, medium. Rapid conscription, pretty bad. Incendiary artillery, medium. This is also like pretty low down on the list. More of a 1v1 commander as well, but we've seen it used by Broadcast and 2s recently, the 2v2 tournaments recently. Counterattack. This is a medium buy as well. It's got the KV1 once again, medium. Shock troops, medium. Recon flight, good. For Mother Russia, very good. B4, it's kind of like an RNG howitzer cannon. So, you know, it can like one-shot most medium tanks, but it's like very inaccurate. So if you want like some highlight reel, just tank destruction, it's good, but otherwise, this is like a medium buy, this one. Defensive, I'm not sure if you get this free anymore, but if you don't, this is there are a couple of things getting changed. The M42 is getting changed in this, but overall this commander is not very good. Very early game. Could probably only work it in 1v1s. Just stay away, I would recommend. Lend-Lease. M4C Sherman. It's getting changed. It's medium though, medium. Dishka, very good. Supply drop. It's got its place. M5 Assault Group, not so good. Conscript Repair, pretty medium. Overall, this commander is like a medium to low recommendation to buy. Mechanized support. This is like a really big fixture in team games. So if you play a lot of like 2s through 4s, essential buy this one. Anti-tank gun camouflage. It's the first option there. Very helpful to avoid like artillery strikes on your anti-tank guns. Guards, great. Marked vehicle, great. IL-2 bombing, great. ISU-152, great. Must buy for team game players. NKVD. This is getting changed in the upcoming patch. So it's hard to say exactly how it's going to be, but I think it's going to be certainly a lot better than it is currently, and probably pretty good. So I think this is like a medium to high buy, but as I said, this is getting changed in the upcoming patch, so I can't be sure on that. Partisans. This is probably like a medium to low buy, really. Used to be very strong, but these days, not really worthwhile, I don't think. Radio Intercepts, medium. Partisans, both sets of Partisans are pretty medium. Spy Network's very good, and Marked Vehicle's very good, but this is kind of like a early game-ish commander. Not really recommended, honestly. Shock Motor Heavy. This is also like a medium to low buy for me. Shock Troops, medium. Armored Vehicle Detection, trash. Conscript Repair, medium to low. IL-2 bombing, good. ISU-152, good. But you're much better off getting this commander if you want ISU 152 and IL2s. So yeah, kind of don't really need this commander. It's a free one, shock rifle frontline. Soviet combined arms, I think this is free. Soviet industry. This is like a medium buy at the moment, I'd say. KV8's getting buffed, KV2's getting buffed, so that could, like, at the moment, this commander's not very good, but those could tip this over the edge. Repair stations, medium. Supply drop, medium. Crew repair, pretty good. This is like more of a team game commander. You know, you can build the repair station so your whole team can benefit from the repairs, and the KV2 is like more suited to team games than 1v1, but that might change come the patch. Soviet Reserve Army, this comes free. Soviet Shock Army, that's free. Tank Hunter Tactics. This is like probably a medium buy for me. Like, it's definitely a good meme commander. Like, if you want the memes, this is like high up on the list. You get conscripts of PTRS, they have these like anti-tank grenades that just ruin vehicles, and they can camouflage. So a vehicle can drive up to it, and then you can have like 1 or 2 squads hiding in wait, and then you just like blitz it with anti-tank grenades, and then knock it out with the PTRS. It's a lot of fun. Quite hard, medium hard to execute, but yeah, a lot of fun. So this is like a medium buy for me, but must buy if you're a memer. Terror Tactics, KV8, medium to high actually, come patch. Shock Troops, medium. Fear Propaganda, not very good. MR20, medium. Bombing Run, pretty good. Overall, this is like a medium buy for me. Finally, Urban Defense. This is also getting changed come the patch, so hard to fully judge. This is one of the revamped commanders. HQ's getting changed, the M42's getting changed, armor detection's going, booby track's getting changed. So this one's getting changed a lot. So hard to judge. Used to be a staple in team game matches because people would just like put the forward HQ on a building, but that's kind of been taken away now. Overall, I think this is a medium buy for me right now. Assault support, this is probably a medium to high on the buy order. Artillery officer is decent. Blitz truck, what that does is kind of acts like a moving fuel cache or resource cache for you. So it can be helpful in team games, especially if you want to get some extra resources. Strafing run, good at like pinning infantry. It's pretty good for its cost, and like when it comes in, 6 command points pretty early. Fragmentation bombing run, it's like a medium ability, but it's pretty effective against like static units and like team weapons that have a hard time dodging it. And then Tiger is also pretty medium right now. Overall, this is like a pretty good commander. You see it sometimes in tournaments, even at the top level. Blitzkrieg is free. Close air support, this is probably like a low on the buy for me. This used to be like one of the meta commanders, and it got nerfed a lot. Just a lot. Still can be a powerful option if you need to counter howitzers, because it has a recon run and a bombing run. So if you really need to counter howitzers, this is alright. Otherwise, I'd probably avoid it. Defensive, this is one of the ones that's getting changed in the upcoming patch. Just so many things are changing on this. Overall, I think this is a commander, if you want to play a more defensive style, as you would guess from the commander name, then it's a good option. Otherwise, it's probably like a low buy for you. But if you like playing defensively, you like building bunkers and big pack 43s to defend your lines and stuff, this is quite nice. Elite troops, this is probably like a medium to high buy. A lot of things have got nerfed in this commander over the years, so it's still got some very strong hitters. The stun grenades are good, G43s are good, stormtroopers are getting changed, but they're also pretty good. Panzer Tactician is excellent, one of the best abilities in the game. Lets you smoke your tanks and get out of there. It's very effective for keeping your vehicles alive. And then the Tiger Ace is kind of like medium at the moment, got quite a lot of nerfs, but yeah, medium to high buy, still very popular in both team games and 1v1s. Encirclement, this is another super meme commander, so if you're a memer, this is for you. It's got ambush, which is like medium to low, stormtroopers medium, break supply line, break through and close the pocket. These all synergize for close the pocket, which is the most powerful artillery strike in the game. If you can execute it, what you need to do is disconnect your opponent's territories through cutting them off, and then, which you do through break supply line and breakthrough. Break supply line, neutralizes a territory point, and breakthrough makes your tanks and vehicles go really quickly and also be able to neutralize territory, capture territory. So yeah, you try to do that, and then you close the pocket, and that calls in the mother of all artillery strikes. It's like rockets and bombs and howitzer fire coming in, just annihilates everything in the cutoff area. So yeah, very strong main commander, but otherwise quite low on the build priorities, I'd say. Festung armor, I think this is one of the free ones. Fortified armor, Panzer Tactician, great. Stuka Recon plane, like good. Hull down, not very good. Command tank, good. Elephant, great. This is more of like a team game commander once again. Elephant very strong in team games, so is the command tank, stopping your units from dying to massive amounts of rocket artillery. So this one is like an option if you don't want to use the Jaegar armor, which you do get for free. This is another option if you want to get the command tank as well. And you don't need the bombing run that's in Jaegar armor. Joint operations, this is another more defensive commander. You've got the artillery officer who's kind of medium, got like a lot of abilities to, like off-map smokes and artillery barrages, but overall just like a medium strength, and does require a bit of micro. Reconnaissance flight, which is good. LFH, which is kind of medium to low. Pack 43, which is also kind of medium to low, and then light artillery barrage, which is also kind of like medium. So overall, this isn't a super strong commander, but it's got the synergy of the LFH doing barrages with the reconnaissance plane, spotting the targets for your howitzer to barrage them. So if you want to play a more defensive style, this is the commander for you. But yeah, overall, I think this is like a low on the buy list otherwise. Lightning War, this is a must-buy commander. G43s, which are good. Tactical movement, which is medium. Relief infantry, which is not very good. They nerfed it a while ago. It used to be very strong, but now the duration is a little bit too short. Stuka Close Air Support, which I said before, excellent, one of the best abilities in the game. And the Tiger, which is also medium at the moment. But, it's fun to play with heavy tanks sometimes. But this is a must. This is like always been used in 1v1s and team games. Lightning War, must buy. Luftwaffe Supply, this is another more team game oriented commander. You get a lot of like supporting airdrops, so you can like drop extra resources onto the map for either yourself or your team. So maybe you could like rush something out, rush out like a fast medium tank or fast rocket artillery piece, something like that, to make a big impact on the game. And then it also has a lot of those off maps that are great for dealing with things like howitzers. It's got the Stuka bombing run and Stuka recon plane. So yeah, more of a team game commander once again, and more of a support commander. Strong against howitzers. This is probably like a medium to low buy though for me. Mechanized Assault. This used to be one of the must buys, but now I think it's like a kind of a medium commander. Assault Grenadiers, they're okay. They're kind of like a shock unit early game, close range, can sprint up, good at flanking machine guns, but overall they drop off quite sharply in the late game. So yeah, early game unit there. The Assault Group Half Track, that's reasonable. It's reasonable. Comes in like a little bit late for what it does, but other than that, like it's a reasonable ability. Strug E, that's actually getting buffed in the upcoming patch. Should be made a bit better. At the moment, it's a little bit lackluster. In the patch, I think it's still maybe like a tiny bit underpowered, but it does give you like a nice option. Strong anti-infantry vehicle with the full health of the Strug. Used to be like reduced health, reduced armor previously. Now it's full strength in terms of that. And you don't have to tech to get it as well. That's a real advantage here. You can skip a stage of tech and make up for it with the Strugi. Light artillery barrage, another medium, just artillery barrage, not super strong. And then the Tiger, also medium. So, if you want to do some diverse strategies with the Assault Grenadiers, maybe like skipping a stage of tech, this gives you a lot of opportunity to skip tech, but otherwise I would say probably like a medium to low on the buy option. Mobile defense, this has been a staple in the 1v1 scene. but is getting nerfed. The reason behind that is the Puma Command armored car. That's getting put slightly behind tech now. So you're not going to be able to spam it like you do before with the Panic Puma to come back into the game. Because that's what this really was about. Being able to skip tech, come back from a bad start. But looking at it apart from that, is it still worth buying? Counterattack is like medium to low ability. Panzer Tactician, great. Smoke is great. Ostruppen reserves, kind of like some good cannon fodder infantry. 6-man squad's quite durable, but not that damaging. But yeah, if you lose a squad early, call in some Ostruppen reserves to beef up your numbers, especially if you need to deal with vehicles and you just need some meat shields to just get up front and get an anti-tank snare off. The Puma getting put behind tech, it's still going to be good, but I think with the timing now, it's going to be a little bit slow, probably not going to be that good. And command tank, it's like medium. So I don't think at this point I would recommend buying mobile defense. Ostruppen. This is another one that offers some more diversity to your early game strategies. You can use Ostruppen basically instead of Grenadiers, and it leads to quite a fast start. You get like a lot of map control early and kind of like snowball a victory that way. Also Ostruppen kind of cool in team games because they're 6-man squads as opposed to regular Grenadiers, so quite a lot harder to kill. And yeah, it's got some useful abilities. Ostruppen obviously coming straight away. Trenching tools is kind of like not pretty bad, honestly. Artillery field officer, it's medium to bad, like as I said before. Supply drop, that's pretty good. Drops you in some weapons and fuel and munitions. That's like a pretty good ability. Does get used quite a lot. And then railway artillery, that's like a medium ability. You know, it's good for causing your opponent to have to move out of the area, or maybe you do it on like an artillery piece or something. So overall, this commander I probably would recommend buying. It does offer a lot of diversity to your starting builds and like a different way to play this faction. But I wouldn't say that it's a must buy. Just like a medium to high. Spearhead. This I would say is a must buy. This is a very good commander for both team games and 1v1s. The mortar half track is kind of medium, good at countering Brit emplacements with the incendiary round it does. Really good against the Bofors. So if you need to be countering Brits with their emplacements, look towards the mortar half track. Very good there. As Tactician, great, one of the best abilities in the game. Stuka Recon plane, very good. Fragmentation bombing. Combined with the Stuka plane, you know, you can bomb like some pretty like out of the way areas where your opponent might not expect. These two combine to be like pretty strong in this commander, even though Stuka bombing is like kind of medium by itself. And then the Tiger, just like a medium option overall. Like the Tiger at the moment, it's not a must get. Probably a little bit weaker than some of the other heavy tanks, but still can be fun to use, especially if you go for like a tier 3 into Tiger style build. Still very effective. But yeah, the key here is like the Panzer Tactician in this commander makes it very, very strong. And overall, the rest of the options are quite decent. So good for team games and good for 1v1. Storm. This I would say is like a low on the buy list overall. It's got the ambush, which is like medium to low. Regal anti-tank mine, pretty bad. Like you have to make a 251 half track. The Regal mines are very strong. Other than that, it's like too hard to use. Just a waste of time, honestly. Smoke bombs, medium to low. LEFH, again, medium to low. Stuka bombing strike, good. But, you know, and you do have the smoke bomb plane in this. So the smoke bomb plane does actually provide like a brief bit of sight as it flies over the target. So you can smoke bomb into dive bomb, which is like a good way to counter howitzers once again. But overall, I think this commander is not worth trying. The US forces, heavy cavalry. This is like probably the most used commander at the moment in 1v1s at least. The Pershing heavy tank is very, very strong. It's like very highly mobile, medium in terms of like health and armor, and quite low compared to most other heavy tanks. But his gun is so powerful, great moving accuracy as well. Good at wiping squads, decent against tanks, very strong. Looking at the rest of the options, rifleman field defense is good, being able to build mines. The rifleman is like, they take a little bit too long to build for it to be really strong, but It's an option. It's a good option because US forces don't have traditional mines, and you can build sandbags, and that's really, really good. Being able to build sandbags with your riflemen is excellent. Off-map smoke is just, it's fine. It's actually pretty good in US forces. Being able to smoke something off like this is a little bit on the expensive side, the smoke, I'd say, but other than that, it comes in pretty fast. It's kind of like a medium ability. Rangers, they're also kind of medium in strength. I think paratroopers are better overall, but Rangers are pretty strong, like close range squad. Get the grenade. You can get 3 weapon upgrades on them, though I wouldn't recommend it because they'll just drop them too often, but it's an option. And then combined arms, it's not very good. It's like medium to low strength because I think it like costs too much for what it does, but it's an option. Kind of buffs up your tanks and infantry when you use them close to each other. But as I said before, this is all about the Pershing, and this is a must-buy for US forces. Mechanized. This is one of the commanders that's getting changed in the upcoming patch. A lot of changes happening, and the WC-51, you can build it, and it's going to be able to cap, and then you have to upgrade it with the machine gun, and so this commander is getting a lot of changes. I think in 1v1s at least, it's going to be quite a strong commander against OKW. So if you're looking to buff up your game versus OKW in 1v1s, I think this will be quite strong. But yeah, it's hard to say what the exact strength of this commander is going to be like, but I think it's going to be at least like a medium. I'm not going to say it's going to be a must-buy, but you know, especially if you've been playing the game for quite a long time, you want a bit of diversity, I think this is a good option. Recon support. Well, there are some, this did get changed a while ago, and I think this is like a medium strength commander, honestly. The raid tactics is kind of okay. You kind of have to use your light vehicles to do capping, and it can be like hard to find opportunities to use raid tactics, honestly. Einar Pathfinders, they're pretty good. Honestly, they're like pretty good. They've got like a special sniper rifle gun, like one of the models in their squad. So when the enemy squads get low health, they can snipe them off. And the squad can also call in very, very powerful off-map artillery, which comes down quite quickly. So yeah, you can use that off-map artillery, like maybe on your... and these guys also have camouflage, so you can like stay hidden somewhere, and when your opponent pushes forward, you can shock them with some artillery that they weren't expecting. But yeah, overall, the INR Pathfinders are good in this commander. The airdrop combat group, also very good. Drops you in an anti-tank gun and some paratroopers. The paratroopers can get some special bazooka upgrade, which allows them to plant mines, I believe. So they can be like anti-tank or anti-infantry. These are some special paratroopers. And being able to drop in an anti-tank gun can be helpful, especially if you've ticked only lieutenant tier. The Greyhound. This is like a very, very strong anti-infantry vehicle. Not very strong against other light vehicles in this class. Has traditionally arrived a little bit late because it comes at 5 command points, but there is a USF tech change coming. So, and when you tech with US forces, you get a little bit of command points for teching. So it should speed your way to the Greyhound. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, or if they're going to tie Greyhound behind tech, but either way, I think the Greyhound will be more accessible come this next patch. So it's seriously worth considering, because this thing wipes squads like nothing else. Probably even better than an HE Sherman. It's crazy, but it is a little bit vulnerable to your opponent's anti-tank or other light vehicles that are on the field at the time. And then finally, the M83 cluster mines, good against infantry. It's a nice cluster mine bombing run. Come in like a little bit slow, but cover like a pretty good area. Also like slow down tanks that gets hit by them. It's like a medium to high ability, but yeah, not very good against things like howitzers, I don't think. But yeah, good against, it's like a wide area, kind of like low strength bombs, but are very strong against infantry and can slow tanks. So overall, I'd say this is like a medium buy. Rifle Company, this is probably a low on the buy right now. It's a little bit underpowered. You get the Easy 8, which is kind of like a super Sherman. It's got more health, more armor, more penetration, but it sacrifices the fact that It can't switch to high explosive, so it's not as good against infantry, and yeah, it is more expensive as well. So it's like pretty alright. I think the EZ8's alright at the moment. Maybe a little bit underpowered versus infantry, but can fight against like even the OKW Panzer IV pretty effectively. Flamethrower on rear echelon, that's pretty good, but sometimes it can be hard getting 2 rear echelon squads because you need to kind of have a minesweeper in a lot of games. So it's good ability, and if you need a flamethrower, it's a good option to go to, but it's a medium ability. Fire up. This is kind of like on the bad side. It allows your riflemen to sprint, kind of similar like conscripts use URA, but after the riflemen have finished sprinting forwards, they kind of get like a debuff that slows them, and I think the debuff still runs into their retreat timer as well, so you can't retreat as quickly. So that's like a pretty bad ability, I would say. Rifleman flares. It's not that good. Most people forget you can even use them, and even I'm guilty of that, honestly. You kind of have, it's like quite a short range flare your riflemen have to use. So that's like a medium to low ability. Then white phosphorus. It's pretty good, but I think it's a little bit overpriced. I think it's 120 munitions, quite expensive. So yeah, overall I think this commander I do not recommend right now, but maybe, you know, if it gets buffed ever. Tactical Sport, this is more of like a team game commander, I would say, but I've also been using in 1v1s recently because I've been finding it quite a lot of fun. It's got the M1919 LMG, so you can upgrade your squads, your riflemen, or just whatever, your rear echelons as well, with LMGs. You can only pick up 1 of these compared to like 2 bars, but they're like a good long range LMG, kind of similar in strength to the MG42, but apart from the MG42, like you'll still lose to LMG Grenadiers long range. It'll be like a close fight, but you'll still just lose. But you know, it's also quite helpful against OKW. You know, with the STG Fox Grenadiers, you can actually fight them at long range and keep them off. So I think this is kind of more of a, the M1919s at least are more of like a anti-OKW option, but if you want to play slightly more defensively, like standing behind cover, let them come to you style with US forces, M1919 is pretty good. So I think that's a good option. M5, a little bit underpowered at the moment, but because it comes in too late. But as I said, with the commander tech changes coming, maybe this will arrive quickly enough that it'll be worthwhile. P47 Recon run, that's pretty good. Like this is like, I think this has like more sight than other sight planes for some reason, but yeah, it's pretty good, and it allows you to synergize with the one at the bottom there, the Calliope. You can do the recon plane, spot where your opponent's units are, and then just blast the hell out of them with rockets. Or with the P47 strafing run, that is kind of like a medium to low strength ability, I would say. It's like a single pass that pins enemy units, does like medium damage to infantry, doesn't really damage vehicles. Comes in like reasonably fast though, that's what I will say in its favor, and but yeah, overall I think it's not that strong of an ability. And then finally we get to the Calliope, which I think is like a little bit underpowered right now compared to other pieces of rocket artillery. The benefit to it though is that it takes 3 shots to kill, not very vulnerable to things like 222s or, you know, like enemy light vehicles chasing it down and killing it. So it's hard to kill, but not quite as lethal as other rocket artillery options from other factions. So overall, I think this commander is like, would be a must buy if the Calliope was like a little bit better, but at the moment I'd say like it's a medium buy. OKW Elite Armour, this is one of the commanders that's getting changed in the upcoming patch. So hard to say exactly what strength is. I'd say like it's a medium on the buy list for these reasons. Storm Tiger is getting nerfed. It's kind of like a big, like one-shot nuke cannon. Kind of yeah, it's getting nerfed a little bit. So in some ways, and it's getting buffed. It's going to be a reload on the move finally. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be like a little bit underpowered, honestly. Storm Tiger at least. But it's getting some more options. 221/3. It's going to come in instead of signal relay, and signal relay is going to be on the 223. Which gives you an extra option in the early game, like a different light vehicle. I think it's going to be like okay in strength, not not like blow the doors off, but does give you a different option for an early light vehicle, which is nice. Emergency repairs, that's really strong. It's getting buffed like crazy in the patch, so it's going to be really, really good. Heat shells is probably the absolute strength of this commander. I think it's 30% more damage and penetration on like your tank shots and Puma as well. So very, very strong against vehicles. This is really, really good, especially like just in everything, every mode. Great and quite cheap as well. It's activatable ability as well. So I think it's like 30 or 40 munitions. It lasts for like 30 seconds, something like that. Very, very good. Panzer Commander, that's getting buffed. And I think it's going to be very good. It does lock out the machine gun upgrade, but it gives you, I think it's bonus sight range, accuracy, and experience gain, I think. And also the ability to call in an off-map artillery strike, which is actually like pretty good for its costs. Like I think the real strength of that is you'll be able to like drive around anti-tank guns, pop the artillery on them as you drive around, and then they're just like in a real dilemma with what they can do with the anti-tank guns. I think it's going to be quite strong. So overall, I think this is like a medium commander. I don't think it's a must-buy, but certainly there's some very strong abilities in this, and post-patch I think it's going to be quite good. Firestorm. This is more on the meme end of the spectrum. I think this is like a little bit underpowered. It's probably like a medium to low buy for me, unless you're a memer. It's like it comes in it's quite cheap, kind of. You still have to tech to get it, but yeah, it's like not too expensive, but it's also not too strong. Doesn't have super good white potential. Can't do anything against tanks, unlike the KV8. So yeah, a little bit underpowered at the moment, I think. But yeah, assault package. This is one of the strengths of the commander. Your stern pioneers get access to flamethrowers. So you might want to start with like a double stern pioneer opening, get some flamethrowers on them. Pretty good. Also gives you Fox Grenadier MP40s. They're not so good. It's like a SMG close range kind of thing. Switches out the grenades as well, from the incendiary grenades to smoke and high explosive, which can catch your opponents off guard, but generally I think it's maybe not quite as good. So yeah, that's not really a highlight of this commander. Those are quite bad. Incendiary munitions, they're really good. Your infantry support gun can shoot like big blotches of flames, and I think you can shoot like 3 of them when you activate it. And very similar to the mortar half-track incendiary thing, so quite strong against emplacements and stuff like that. Good against Brits. Good against like forward HQs or whatever, or forward retreat points. One of the strengths of this commander, I'd say it's very good ability. Opal Blitz, this is quite bad. This is like a reinforcement half-track that gives your squads nearby some like rate of fire bonuses or something like that. Yeah, not very good half-tracks in Code 2. Generally when used for reinforcing and just not very strong. Pretty bad. And then finally the 280mm rocket artillery barrage. That's pretty good. Pretty good against things like howitzers. Like you can destroy howitzers really well. Also like comes in reasonable speed. Might be able to hit some of your opponent's stuff if they're not paying attention on the map, like if they react to the smoke. But yeah, pretty good against howitzers. I'd say that's the strength of it, but there's no recon plane, for instance, in this commander, so it can be hard to get sight of your opponent's howitzers. So overall, yeah, this is not a very good commander, kind of meme status, but it does give you some different options. Maybe you want to rush a Hetzer, or maybe you want to play with some stern pioneers with flamethrowers. So if you want to try that out, get it then, but otherwise certainly not high in the recommendation. Fortifications. This is a very, very good commander. Probably, I would say, one of the must-buys for OKW. Heavy fortifications, that's overall like whatever. Flak emplacements are kind of like a stationary flak half-track. Can help you lock down territory for a while, but ultimately they'll generally get destroyed by something like an anti-tank gun. And yeah, tank traps and trenches, whatever. Nobody really builds them, honestly. Field defenses. This is one of the strengths of the commander. OKW will get access to bunkers, which are really nice. Team games and 1v1, especially if you're close to your supply limit. And Fox Grenadiers can build S-mines. So if you've got like 4 Fox Grenadiers, you can just plant S-mines all over the map. Makes it really hard for your opponent to cap around the map because they constantly need to send minesweepers everywhere. Very, very strong ability. And this is like, see some play in 1v1s basically just for the S mines. That's how good they are on the Fox Grenadiers. Pack 43. This is, in this commander specifically, I think it's quite good as a counter to heavy cavalry. It's very good against the Pershing heavy tank. Heavy cavalry typically relies on skipping major tech, so they don't get access to major artillery. And the Pack 43, that means they don't have any artillery to destroy the Pack 43, which means they can put a Pack 43 down and can just zone out the Pershing, and you can just do heaps of damage to it. Can sometimes kill the Pershing as well if they just drive slightly too close to it, because the Pack 43 dishes out some massive damage. So yeah, very good against the Pershing, specifically heavy cavalry. LFH is also pretty good for OKW, I think, because it gives them another option to indirect fire, maybe if you find getting to the walking Stuka too difficult. And this is, you don't have to take Mechanized this way if you don't want to get access to some good artillery. So I think this commander is pretty good, the LFH, and you generally play more defensive style with this commander as well, so it can be very hard for your opponent to find an opportunity to come forward and kill it. So I think it's pretty good. And finally, zeroing artillery. This is one of the strongest off-mats in the game. You can plant it in the fog of war, but if you want any shells to fall, you have to have sight of the area. And it starts out really slow, like at the start of the ability, shells will come down like quite infrequently, but then it just keeps ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, and at the end, if anything's in the circle, it'll just be bombed to shit, man. It's really, really strong. Very good against things like OKW emplacements. If you have something to provide sight, zeroing artillery can be just a nightmare for your opponents. So it's very good. So overall, as a complete package, I think this is like a very strong commander and very close, if not a must-buy. Overwatch. This is a little bit of a meme commander. This is like one of the ones that's getting changed in the upcoming patch, so it's hard to say exactly what strength level will be. The Goliath, it's kind of like a moving demo charge. It's quite slow, can move around, but yeah, if it gets into your opponent's path, it will just destroy basically any infantry squad that gets near it. Will just get blown up. Also does a lot of damage to tanks. The way it works is if you blow it up yourself, it does 400 damage, but if your opponent like shoots it down and blows it up themselves, it does half damage. But yeah, it does require a bit of control to get the most out of Goliath and a bit of practice, but it is quite strong and also quite a good meme as well. Forward receivers and early warning, they're getting combined into one ability. And early warning flares, they're basically like flares that as soon as your opponent walks into territory, you'll see what they get. And forward receivers, OKW trucks planted on the battlefield will have like really good line of sight. So combined, I think they combine to be quite a strong ability. This commander's getting Jaegar Infantry, which are pretty strong. They're also getting buffed in the upcoming patch. They're going to come in earlier. You're going to have to upgrade them to get the sniper rifle, but they're really strong. They have like good line of sight. They're kind of like a strong supporting squad as well. They have a sniper rifle which can kill low health models of squads. So I think they're going to be pretty good. Sector Assault, that's also getting changed. I think it's going to be a lot more reliable and very, very strong in the next patch. So I think overall this commander is going to be pretty good. I think it's also getting the LFH as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe, I can't really remember exactly. But yeah, overall I think this is going to be a good commander, and if you want to meme out with the Goliath, then it's a must-buy. Otherwise, yeah, it's like a medium strength commander, honestly. Scavenge. This is, I'd say, like a little bit underpowered. The Flak Panzer, it comes in like a lot faster than like your traditional OKW tank, you know. If you want to get a Panzer IV, it comes in way slower, like 50 fuel later. That's 2 minutes later than the Flak Panzer. So you can like go for a Flak Panzer rush, but overall I think it's like a little bit underpowered right now. There are Salvage, also very underwhelming ability. Yeah, it takes longer to salvage your opponent's stuff, but you get some munitions for it. It's not very strong. Jaeger Lights, as I mentioned earlier, they're getting buffed. I think they're going to be quite good coming earlier, so that's a good ability. For Trace Grenades, that's really, I'd say, the highlight of this commander. Every model in the squad throws like a medium to low strength grenade, but when 5 grenades hit the field at one time can lead to wipes, cover a huge area, very strong ability. And finally, the 105 Howitzer Barrage, that covers like a pretty big area, more of an area denial tool against like infantry and tanks, can do decent damage to both. Not really reliable to try and kill howitzers though. So overall, I think Scaven's a little bit underpowered, probably wouldn't recommend buying it. And finally, we have Brits. First up, Advanced Emplacements. This gives placements. I think at the moment, honestly, the command is maybe a little bit underpowered because most people don't really like the playstyle it promotes. It's kind of like not that healthy for the game. But yeah, if you want to build lots of emplacements, kind of camp, you can still win games. Like I see sometimes players do this as a meme, like on streams and stuff, and still very effective strategy, very hard to counter, especially if your opponent doesn't have the right commanders to counter it. This can be a real nightmare to deal with this one. But yeah, if you want to play a more campy style with emplacements, this is for you. Otherwise, I'd probably recommend avoiding it. Mobile Assault. This is like a medium strength commander, maybe like slightly towards the higher side. The thing that's holding it back right now, I think the land mattress is like a little bit underpowered in strength. It's a rocket artillery unit, infantry based. So it's slower to move around than most other rocket artillery pieces, but can also get decrewed rather than outright destroyed, so can be harder to kill as well. But yeah, the rockets artillery I think is just not quite strong enough for its cost, but it does come in like pretty early timing. The flamethrowers though, they're very good on Royal Engineers, so that's great. Advanced Cover Combat, that's a fine ability, buffs up your infantry section fire. It's pretty cheap, that's why it's good. If it wasn't so cheap, I think it would be a bit bad. Infiltration Commandos, it's like a 3-man commando squad that can come out of a building. You can reinforce them back up to 5 models, but they start at 3 models, so you can't just like straight away spawn them out of nowhere and just destroy your opponent's entire army by flanking them for free. Also, I think their grenade starts on cooldown, so you can't pop them out of a building and throw grenades straight away, because that was a very frustrating tactic to play against. But overall, I think commando strength is fine, and this is like a decent way to get access to commandos. And finally, vehicle crew repairs. That's like a pretty strong ability. Repairs like a good amount of health. Pops smoke down on your vehicles as well while it's going on, so it can be harder to see them and kill them. So yeah, overall, I think this commando is like pretty good. And if the land mattress gets any stronger, I think it will be very good. But at the moment, it's certainly not a must-buy. But very good commander. Special weapons. Tank Hunter Infantry sections. This used to be the reason you would buy this commander, because it's kind of like a guard squad almost. They have boys anti-tank rifles, very similar to PTRS, as well as an anti-tank grenade. So a very popular counter to early light vehicle play. But now, you know, Brits are getting snares on the engineers, so maybe this is not quite so relevant now, having an anti-tank grenade on your tank hunter section. Resupply half-track, I think this is a little bit bad. Gives you the option to drop weapons, so you can drop weapons for your team, which can be sometimes very strong, especially if you drop LMGs for penal troops, your teammate. That's a very strong ability. Well, combination, you sometimes see that in the 2v2 tournament from Captain Price. But otherwise, yeah, it's not very strong. It drops the Vickers as well. Slightly different to the Bren, but slightly better than the Bren, but I think it's more expensive as well. But they're basically the same thing. Hold the line, that's a little bit underwhelming. Basically, like if units come into your territory, some planes will come through eventually and try to damage them. It's, yeah, not really very good. Concentrated fire operation. This is kind of like a railway artillery on steroids. Very, very strong. I think it's got like more scatter, I think, but drops more shells. So good against howitzers. Good as like area denial as well. Very strong ability. Finally, the crocodile. That's also getting buffed in the upcoming patch. I think it's going to be quite strong. The main gun, it's getting full strength main gun. It's going to be the same as like the Cromwell and the Churchill's main gun. So I think that's going to tip this over. This is like a very good commander, but I don't think it's a must-buy. Tactical support. This one is getting changed in the upcoming patch, and so it's hard to judge exactly how strong it's going to be. Forward observation post typically was quite bad, because it comes in quite late, and by that time most buildings are quite often destroyed. But in the upcoming patch, you'll be able to build it on a forward assembly, so that's really nice. And artillery cover is getting moved into the forward observation post, so it's going to have quite a few options in it, like I think it's got a Recon plane, like an anti-infantry plane, a bombing run, which is the bombing run I think is quite bad, but the anti-infantry plane's good, the Recon plane's good, and of course artillery cover is quite good. More of like a zone denial tool, like good against infantry or like pinned infantry, and then against tanks if they're like sitting in it, it'll do decent damage to them and slow their rate of fire by half, or half their rate of fire. So that's pretty good. But of course the observation post has a limited cast range, so you'll have to predict where you need to be, and it will have to not be destroyed. So it might be a little bit hard to use, we'll have to wait and see. But the other changes to this commander I think are going to make it quite good. The engineers, you're only going to have to deploy one, and it's basically like a super engineer squad. They can salvage stuff, they can repair faster than the standard engineers, they can plant mines now, which they couldn't do before, so I think they're going to be very good. Air resupply operation, that's getting changed as well. It's going to drop in a mortar now instead of the Vickers, I think. So that's going to be quite good. If you want a mobile mortar, that's going to be a go-to now as Brits. That's often complained about for Brits, not having a mobile mortar. Here's your chance, tactical support. You can also drop weapons for your ally in team games, so that can be helpful. So yeah, tactical support, I think like maybe more of a team game commander, but yeah, not a must-buy, but I think it's like a decent strength, certainly not a meme commander. And finally, Vanguard. I think this is like very close to being a must-buy, maybe a must-buy. Raid operation. This is kind of like most of the other abilities where you can cap territory faster, but it works for both infantry and vehicles. And I think it works for both neutralize and capping speed. Costs quite cheap, so this is very strong. The strongest of all the capping bonus speed abilities, I believe. Or logistics glider. This is a great ability. You drop in a glider, which can then act as a forward retreat point. You can also train commandos and medics from it. That's one way to get commandos and medics. Glider comes in with an air landing officer, which is kind of like a 4-man commando squad, but he's got some extra utility abilities, so he's pretty good. So yeah, that's a very strong ability, especially if you want access to a forward retreat point almost for free, as long as your glider survives. So may not want to use the glider in an aggressive situation, just use it as a forward retreat point, that's fine. Vehicle crew repairs, very good. Covered this earlier, very good ability, but not amazing, but just very solid. Strafing support. So this calls in 2 planes, like one machine gun plane basically does decent damage, decent suppression to infantry, and then an anti-tank plane, which is a lot weaker than a lot of the other anti-tank planes, but still reasonable. Kind of more of an aerial denial tool. Might not be that useful in team games because there's typically quite a lot of anti-air in team games these days, but if there's not, this will be pretty strong. Overall, a pretty good ability, strafing support, really good in area denial, and can like turn engagements on here. Like you can either get sight deep in their territory and put it down, and then they have to retreat in a really long way if they can't shoot it down with anti-air, or if they're pushing you, you can drop it down and they'll just shut down their pushing pressure. So it's quite a good ability. And finally, the Crocodile, as I said earlier, getting buffed, so it's going to be very good. So overall, I think this is a very strong commander and probably close to a must-buy.